back and forth. That's the first thing you see in real life. It's good.
Something like a token or a networking event, especially in crypto, because usually, like I said, we're on Telegram or in Google meetings, you don't even have a camera on it. So it's like you know, the value is just immense, right?
I think they do this more. I feel like the relationships are way better than a Google is going to be. So
100% completely agree. Let's talk about the market. I mean, how has it been since the start of the year for you? It's been a tricky year. It's been tricky in the market, right?
It's, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much volatility, there's so many emotions, and so many up and down. But I feel like the market's actually starting to mature a little bit. And that's optimistic, because times like this where you have odd things and you have scams pumping up, right? There's so much movement in the market right now, and I feel like when you look at Bitcoin, it's held up well, and generally it hasn't done well, but some other alts have held up well too, and I think the market's actually maturing, and we're seeing that real time, and that's obviously beneficial for everyone, investors, so it's good to see.
Yeah. What do you think? I always hate predictions, but it's like, what do you think in terms of maybe the next month, the next 6 months, or the end of the year? Sort of in the charts and in the vibe, and because you're locked into the like, is happening.
Yeah.
From your point of view.
I think in general, the market's a lot more neutral than people expect, right? So I think some people genuinely want a not zero, right? But there's also people who think Bitcoin's going to 250. Like the moment that we get any piece of good news, we're going to 250, and I think the market's going to be a lot than people think, right? There's a lot of stuff that's happening. You see so much regulatory stuff happening. You see so many projects that are building, so many changes that are genuinely impacting intrinsic value of crypto as a whole. And I think all these things take time. And what's happening in the government. They're starting to put in the crypto task force, right? These sorts of things and these changes, they take time. And I don't think that they're immediately going to have impacts like people think. And so, long story short, I think that the market's going to give us just casual, decent share. And I think it's total fun. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Bitcoin does hit 250K. But I think some of these catalysts, especially from time, so a little bit different.
It's funny because people like a 10% year. I think, like I said, the market mature expect like just decent-ish years, super volatile. Right. But if we come out of the year with like a 10% up, like win, you know what I mean?
And that volatility, obviously, right? The market recently, we saw Bitcoin at 109, came down, bounced around 100, fell to 74, but it's not back to 94. So there will be these big swings that I think will happen, but in general, I think we'll find points of neutrality a little exciting because you see this market progressing, it needs to stabilize them. And the stabilization, especially with Bitcoin doing it, I think it's more appealing to a lot of people, and it's a lot less stressful. Overall, yeah.
Excellent. Right, we have some to get through with you, man. Hodl or trade?
Can I say a mixture of both?
Oh,
so the reasoning is, I think the majority of the portfolio, unless you're active day-to-day trading, I think it's fine to trade, but most people aren't trading, right? Most people aren't day trading. If you're not capable of doing hourly basis, I don't think you should be trading a lot. Because people think trading is kind of like, of course, there are ways you can swing trade, but more is that if you're going to be trading, the shifts that happen, from certain different perspectives, new narratives, they're fast. And if you don't catch this something properly, just to be ahead of things. And if you're changing the market. So I think putting a little bit of cash aside forces you to regulate your emotions, which is good overall. But the majority of people's capital, in my opinion, should be in this model long-term, sit and wait type of back.
Yeah. The thing is, especially in distributed, it wouldn't make sense to have to trade something if you need to trade opportunities, right? I mean, if you trade an event, at any given point.
Yeah. Exactly.
Interesting one. Bitcoin or ETH?
Bitcoin ETH.
Yeah.
I've been a bit of a pessimist with ETH recently and value. One thing before I say this, I want to preface. What Ethereum put crypto in a spot to where we can even have this happening right now. So I do value and respect Ethereum, the Ethereum Foundation. I think they're doing fantastic things. I just think they've lost the plot a little bit. For example, we were there a couple months ago. The Ethereum community feels like they've been abandoned almost, right? Like Vitalik obviously has things that he's focused on outside of ETH. Totally understand. A lot of time, energy, or money into committing to helping build out the Ethereum ecosystem. Like, not just because ETH is struggling, but also because systemically. So for me, the future is not going to be as bright as good.
That's a question. ETH or Solana?
Solana.
Yeah.
And the reason being is the reason that Solana is more risky is because they're willing to take more risks. Right. And I think that's something that people don't grasp every now and then. Solana, if they wanted to be realistically, can pull back, they can scale back, stop marketing, say some 2-3 things they do, leave it alone, let the devs do it. But Solana as a whole, the CEO all the way down to the employees, they take risks, and that makes them more risky. But the reality is that you have to take risks, right? Or you'll just get left in the dust. And so Solana.
Solana. I think on top of that, I think the user experience is the onboarding of Ethereum, which had that crazy 2022 bull run, which is huge.
Yeah.
But then Solana's user experience absolutely the way that you launch new services of crypto, right? Whereas ETH feels at this point a bit slow, a bit old, maybe a bit safer. It's quick. Solana is straight.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Meme coins or utility coins?
I'm going to go utility coins and I think I would take little research, you hope you're correct, and you just go for it. In a 2021 environment, going into meme coins is a smart bet, in my opinion. Because when you have these moments where you're seeing mass extension of liquidity, utility, memes, whatever, anything in between. So you might as well just go with the thing that's obviously more risky, but I genuinely believe that in those periods specifically, the risk you might lose $100. Say you put $100 into a meme coin, you might lose $100. You just might make $10,000, right? Environment, meme coin, but in general, utility that is because crypto is still developing. The system is expanding asset class, and the only thing that'll so investing into the thing that is needed to progress the environment is the obvious play. Because if crypto is going to keep growing, utility coins are going to continue to grow. So,
well, that utility coins just haven't had the run that they had in 2021.
Yeah.
Because this last
sure, I think it's because it's not defined yet, right? So there's so many options. We could talk to 2049. There's this food that and that one. There's so many different things that you can do. From a utility basis, I think what is actually for, what progressives are actually for, what I think as the market gets older, we'll be able to define this area, this is important to help us progress into mass adoption. And once we define those habits, perform the best, it just takes a little time. It just takes a little bit.
Crypto regulations was absolute decentralization.
Crypto regulations.
Crypto regulations?
Yeah.
Why?
So I know that's a hot take, and a lot of the
that is a super hot take.
They won't.
What would the Phoenix say it?
If it's binary, I think regulations. And the reason that I say that is because, listen, in the world of crypto, it's much of be controlled. That's the reality. Everyone says this. If somebody goes, if you create an asset class that has an opportunity to generate revenue, generate wealth, profit, whatever it be, will be controlled, period. There will be groups of people who would have more money just one way or another. So the way that I see it is I would rather there be limitations to just how crazy they can get with the control that they have. Perfect world is it's not controlled. It's not manipulated. It is actually a free market. But I don't live in the illusion place. That's not what's going to happen. So at least there should be some constraints.
Excellent take, to be fair. big or centralized exchange, where do you bet?
I'm gonna go to make sure.
Okay.
Now, well, the old changes that I would be willing to are like the top three, right? Is Kraken, Coinbase, maybe a Binance, something like that. I'm not talking about smaller centralized exchanges for their risk. Like some people do misconstrue the idea that I'm risky because it's a centralized exchange. That's not the case. Many of them are just normal people with an idea, just like anyone else. Who can mess up, right? A Coinbase goes down, we have much bigger things to worry about, anyway, right? I say that because our wallets do come with their own risks, right? It's not like this is risk free. You need to make sure it's react to it if you lose it. And the convenience, right? Obviously, some accessibility to your hardware wallet easier. They're still not as convenient, right? And if you're somebody who's consistently making moves or a business owner, I mean, having a little bit of a one binary.
Okay. I completely agree. I think you're both in your whole life. You lost wealth, you hardware wealth. But being able to have access to the market when things are moving, we need to understand spot of futures.
So the reason I'll go futures is because if you play your futures correctly, you can trade it like spot, right? Particularly, I mean, obviously, it'll be a little bit different. You have that, but the right strategy when it comes to futures, you can put your so little risk that is basically to some degree, but the return can be. You can see much more profitability if handled correctly. Other than leave futures, I would tell them to stick the spot or futures is something for someone new. It's a gamble. There's no reason to for the final role we were speaking. I think with the right strategy, futures is a same risk.
Yeah.
So fine is there.
And you get access to just so much more capital. With $100, you can take a 10K position. It's just, so money. It is a tool that has to be used. Understanding that there's massive risk there, but it does just give you way more opportunities to go less capital.
Yep.
Tyler, thank you so much, my friend. That was the quick fireside chat.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to the next one, guys.
Zero.
Awesome.
Awesome.